welcome back to the Herefordshire Gardener channel. My name's Aaron. It's Wednesday the 26th of March 2025. The sun's shining. I'm in my what will soon be the kitchen garden, and I thought I'd do a quick update video on my David Austin rose cuttings, which were taken around about June 2023. I did an earlier update video and posted that on the channel a few months back, just showing you how I'd done a light prune on those cuttings. So if you're interested, you can check that video out. But today I'm going to show you where I've placed them for now in their temporary pots. And hopefully I aim to plant these out later this autumn or early next spring. I hope you enjoy the video. Remember, thumbs up to help the channel, and you can subscribe for more content. Thanks again for watching. So if you've seen my previous videos, you'll know this is the kitchen garden, or it's the old kitchen garden. When we bought the property, I think this is where they had the fruit cage and the raised beds with vegetables in. But we've already built a new shed in here because the old shed's become the alpaca barn over there, and we are going to be completely reconfiguring this year. If you check my previous videos out, you'll know that there's a Victorian greenhouse slightly bigger than that fruit cage going there, and of course we've got the chickens over here, which are going to be resited a little bit further back just to open this section up a bit. The last video, I think all of those cuttings were laid out here when I was doing the prune and tidying them up, giving them a feed. I think that must have been at least 6 weeks ago, and I did say in that video that I'd be popping them all in this fruit cage just for now to keep them out of the way. I've put some tarpaulin down on the floor. We'll go in there in a moment and I'll show you how they're doing. The plan eventually, as I mentioned earlier, is to get these out into this room. So we have the new fence up there with the arches. Just look at my previous video because I've done a good demonstration of what this is going to look like moving forward. That'll be covered in roses. There'll be roses in the middle of this room, aside with the vegetable beds, and then of course some in pots by the greenhouse. So I'm just going to take you on through to where I'm keeping them at the moment. As I said, these were taken in June 2023, so this June will be their second year. All of these big pots that you can see I'm going to come on to shortly. These are roses that I've purchased either from David Austin or other sources, like Facebook for example, and they're also into their second year now. So yeah, any of the larger pots around the perimeter are not my cuttings. They were all purchased as bare roots or potted roses, but there's some amazing ones in there and I'll talk you through those in a second. So I just want to bring you in here. This is great, this fruit cage, because it just means that the rabbits can't get in and nibble at anything, because they tend to do that otherwise with young roses. And I mean the fruit cage is going eventually, but I might as well as use it for now. So I've just popped down this tarpaulin, taped it together so the weeds don't come through, and I've got a nice space to just grow these on. So without further ado, let's start with these. These are, believe it or not, that's Teasing Georgia, which is obviously a retired David Austin rose. I'm going to do some close-ups of the base as well, because I just want to show you how much growth these roses have put on. I'll give you a quick overview. All of those on my temporary post supports, which I've put in just so the wind doesn't blow the pots over. All of those in the middle, both sides of my cuttings, are looking really, really healthy. They're going to be covered in blooms this year. I can't wait to show you all what that looks like. Those in the middle of my cuttings, that's Rambling Rosie, and then all of these down this side and around there are my cuttings as well. All done, like I said, around about June 2023. So let's have a closer look. So you can see Teasing Georgia, lovely healthy foliage. All of these had a feed, a root drench should I say, with Uncle Tom's rose tonic about I'd say 4 weeks ago, and I've added extra compost, a good sort of 1.5 inches on top of the pots, and put a pellet fertilizer underneath that, so a slow release. It's Westland rose feed rich in horse manure, so yeah, they get watered as well pretty often. maybe once a week at the moment, but in the summer it could be up to 3 times a week, possibly more depending on the weather. They are small pots. They're pretty much the same size as the David Austin rose pots, which I've recycled here. Not ideal really to be growing roses on, but I'm not ready to pop them out into the landscape yet because I've not got round to sorting those bits out. So yeah, for now I'm just going to keep them in these. They should be okay as long as I keep them well watered and fed. The other thing that I'm thinking of doing is just getting some cheap tin foil from the supermarket, the thinnest stuff that I can get, and just wrapping these pots in a few layers with a shiny side facing outwards, just because this is full sun exposure in here when it's actually out. And I'm just a bit worried that the pots might heat up, and with them being quite small, because they're black, they'll heat up a lot quicker. With them being quite small, that could cause quite a lot of heat in the base of the root zone. So yeah, if I wrap them in some shiny material, it'll at least radiate or reflect a lot of those sun rays back out and hopefully keep the roots a bit cooler. I don't know if there's anything in that. They might be absolutely fine, but by my logic, when you plant a rose in a very large pot, it's got a buffering zone around it, a lot more soil to absorb that change in temperature, and when they're in the ground, you know, they usually have other little plants growing on top, and of course that's a lot of soil which can absorb and you know, take the heat away from the rose roots. So yeah, I'm going to wrap these. But yeah, as you can see my original cutting on this Teasing Georgia. That's the old stem that used to go down. Obviously I cut it to about 6 inches, and last year we got a new stem that came up, and you can see that's going all the way up to the top. That's my light prune that I did this spring. There's the sunshine that I was telling you about. So yeah, I mean, they're really thick. And the great thing about doing your own cuttings is that's definitely not a sucker, because this is its own root. So anything that comes up is definitely Teasing Georgia in this pot. And I like this as well. We've got 1, 2, 3 more stems there. So 4 stems on that one rose. And obviously when you follow it up, it's already filling out so much to say that we're still in March. I reckon by May this is going to be in bloom. Normally it's around about the start of June, but I can imagine these being in full flower sort of mid to late May. I'm also really pleased with the foliage health. This week I'm going to be giving them a sequestered iron and seaweed feed, which I will aim to do at least once a month on all of my roses. I just think it really greens the leaves up and helps the plant look its best, makes your blooms really vibrant in colour. So I'd recommend that if you're not already doing it. And in terms of black spot, I think we're a bit too early in the season for black spot, although it is 16 degrees today. If I do see anything on any of my roses in the garden, I remove it straight away. But as I've said in my previous video, sorry, there's an aeroplane going across. But as I've said in my previous videos, I'm using sulphur rose spray this year, so hopefully that will keep black spot at bay. And I think largely it depends on how wet it is, how many consecutive days of rain we get, you know, not giving the roses a chance to dry out, and what sort of temperatures we achieve. As wet and warm promotes black spot, so fingers crossed this year's better than last, because last year was horrendous, probably the worst year that I can remember. So that's one Teasing Georgia. All my Teasing Georgias are running along the back there up until a certain point just over there. This rose is Crown Princess Margarita. I think there's about 11 of them just along here. You can tell it's different just by the colour of the leaves. They've got more of a reddy orange tone to them. Yeah, if you have a look, I think they're taken according to that label 17th of June 2023. And again, you can see, I think the original stem is probably a little bit lower than where that one is. We've got another bud eye coming out there, but we've got this one which splits off into 2 and comes up. And we've got this one here which is coming up, which looks nice. So that's one of those. They're all sort of, some of them are not as far on as others in terms of opening up, but they've all got really good canes. I mean, look at this one, for example. Got a lovely fat cane coming out of the base and another one at the back. And they're just taking off now and starting to leaf out really well if you follow them up. That's my spring prune. I've said in my previous videos as well, because I sprayed these with sulphur rose when I pruned them, you can see there lovely sort of white cuts. I think the sulphur just inhibits anything from growing on there, which keeps them nice and clean. But yeah, you can see this is leaves from Teasing Georgia. Look at the difference. Crown Princess Margarita has got much more red and burgundy colours in her foliage. She comes out quite dark. Her leaves, when they're fully mature, are nice and dark and glossy. Look at that. It's almost like Munstead wood leaves. Really real burgundy colour. So that's that one. I'll skip through a few of these. You don't need to see all of them, but I just want to give you an idea of where I'm at in just 2 years from cutting. So this one's got 4 stems. Again, Crown Princess Margarita. Some of the leaves are frost damaged. I think maybe this year, because I fed them quite early, it did encourage them to start leafing out a bit early. And obviously if you get some quite harsh frosts, then some of the new quite tender foliage can be a bit frost burnt. But I don't think it's going to massively impact the rose health overall, so I'm not too worried, because now they really are starting to wake up. You can see this one's got 1, 2, 3, 4 canes. Interesting, if you look at that, I've not removed it this year because these are only young roses, but I just want to show you what this is, because you might have seen it on your roses before. You can get it to focus. There we go. Can you see that slit in that stem? So that is from sawfly larvae. Well, they're sawfly, which is a type of flying insect that comes, lands on your stem, and it quite literally pokes eggs into the stem, and then they hatch, and then the larvae crawl out like tiny caterpillars, and they come and they eat the leaves of the rose, which obviously is not great. This obviously was infected last year. Having said that, I think I managed to flick the larvae off or spray them and kill the larvae, but this is how the rose will scar up afterwards and close that wound. The stem health is still fine, as you can see. In future years, this will probably be a stem, when this rose is planted out, that I will get rid of in preference to any of the others, just because it's an entry point for disease on the rose. We talk about the 3 Ds when you're pruning: anything dead, diseased, as in this case, or damaged. Them the ones that you remove. But it's just so beautiful. Really gorgeous, gorgeous colour. And they're loving it in this room in the sunshine. I had them on the driveway last year, which doesn't get a lot of sun. And to be honest, they were cluttering the drive up, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. So yeah, I think this is like a little bit of TLC, a bit of ITU, intensive treatment for them. Got to make sure that it doesn't bake them though, because it does get very hot in this room. And if that occurs, then I'll just have to think about moving them. But look at that. How pretty is that? It's such a lovely little shrub at the minute. This is going to go bonkers this year. It's going to easily climb up these willow trellises, which are just temporary. And as I said, I've tied them with string to these battens that I screwed up and put some tree posts in, hammered those into the ground, and then I've got myself just a temporary nursery area. I know if we get any heavy wind or rain, it's not going to blow them over because they're only in tiny little pots. What does that one look like underneath? Looking good. I love this rose, Crown Princess. Smells amazing. Flowers like there's no tomorrow. Sadly retired. I think most of the roses that I've got as cuttings are retired varieties, but I was really lucky when we moved to this house, because we have 3 of these roses on the property, which are all doing well. So before anything happens to those, as you can't buy this one anymore from David Austin, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to make myself a load more. This is another one. I'll just make sure I keep this in focus for you. and they're just throwing out buds for the sake of it. Lovely, so nice to see. I love it when I see new basal canes which come slightly further away from the main cane. It's always exciting because you know you're getting another leader that's going to hopefully tower up and provide some structure to your shrub. If I bring you on to the next one, this one's starting to bud out quite a bit. I can see a bit of frost damage on this. That's what it looks like. Let me just zoom in on that. You see those leaves, they just look a bit frazzled at the edges. They don't matter, it's putting out new healthy leaves now the weather's warming up. Original cut, that's the top of the old cutting. A couple of stems come out of there, but if you look, we had a few basal canes come out last year because they're quite some distance from the main cutting. And I was super excited when I was seeing this. I just thought, wow, they're really happy where they are. And evidently doing quite well. They were covered in blooms last year, absolutely covered. All of them pretty much got up to near the top of these willow stakes, wigwams, whatever you want to call them, and they were just loaded with blooms all the way up. So this year I think they're just going to be smothered. They only get better year on year in my experience. But I'd say this is now at the stage that you'd probably buy it at the garden centre. I'd be happy if I bought that and brought it home. Second year, so hopefully next year when I put them out in the landscape, particularly if I manage to do it in the autumn, they'll have all that time to put down lovely tap roots into the soil, and I think they'll just explode into action come next spring, this time next year. It'll be really, really good to show you where I've put them. And quite exciting to see the overall impact of all of these roses, because they're going on that fence. You see that lattice fence in the background? That's getting replaced. There's going to be rose arches there, new fence coming down, some of this stuff's getting cleared out, new rose arch here, or actually it's going to be there, and one at the very bottom, and then all new fence exactly the same, but then those crown princess are going to be growing up there and fanned out, as is the teasing Georgia, so they'll just mix together. But I'm going to go nuts and plant enough that I get a lot of fantastic coverage. And so when I'm sat in my shed or in my greenhouse and I'm looking out, I'll just be like, wow, boom, in your face. And obviously the sunshine on this side, this should flower like nuts on this side. So that'll be really exciting to see. Where were we? I'm just going to skip past a few of these. I really do like the foliage colour of this rose, you know. It's quite distinctive. I like all of the foliage colours, to be honest, but I do like the burgundies in particular, like Munstead Wood. The Ancient Mariner in particular is very dark. I've got that in the rose room, which I'm currently editing a video that I did last weekend. Hopefully add to the channel just to show you where those roses are. I might have already uploaded it by the time this one's on my channel. Just look at all the growth tips in there. It's doing so well. If you can hear any drilling in the background, that's my builder who's doing paddock number 3 for the alpacas, and that's coming along quite nice. I just want to show you this that I've noticed. Can you see? We got a new basil cane this year. That one at the back, you can tell it's fresh because that's a very soft stem. And if this wasn't protected, this area, that's the ones that the rabbits would go for. They treat it like a salad bar, and they end up eating them. But how exciting is that? Miles away from the new stem, the cutting, you can see where my old cut were. That was the original top of the cutting from June 2023. And it's just so nice to see that growing further away. If this was a shop bought rose and it was grafted, as in it had a bud union down here, rootstock was different, top growth, obviously the rose that we're interested in, then that could very well be a sucker because it is quite far away. And you could argue and say it's probably not coming from the graft, but because These were made from stem cuttings. They grew their own roots, so they're Crown Princess Margarita roots. Anything that comes up, as I keep saying, from the soil is only Crown Princess Margarita, so I've got nothing to worry about. I welcome the sight of basil canes in these pots. I just think grow as many as you want for me. Just bring you through here. Got some nice canes on there, some quite smaller canes there, but nonetheless this is still filling out lovely. Those yellow pots that you can see in the background, they're the roses that I dug up from the other side of the property. Oh, look at the chickens in there. We've got sand inside that, and they like to clean their plumage just by sunbathing, which is really cute. It looks so much nicer when we've done their new run. Where are we? So bring you through to that one is Crown Princess again. Don't think there are any. Oh no, do you know what? No, there isn't. Another Crown Princess there. I need to do some new labels for these roses. I got some new pens, which somebody on YouTube kindly left a comment in the comment section just saying that there was a set of pens, I can't remember the name of them, but I bought them that day, that don't fade in sunlight. So labelling is something I would absolutely encourage you all to do with any of your roses, whether it's shop bought ones or cuttings that you've done, because often at this stage you can't tell what you've got. So I labelled everything, but some of them are starting to fade, so I need to redo them. And if you also look underneath the rose pots, I've recently put some bamboo canes. See if I can go a little bit lower. Just a real cheap solution to ensure that the pots are slightly raised off of the ground. So what you don't want to do with any potted plant, particularly your roses, is have the pot sitting on soil or sitting on a concrete slab or anything really, because what'll happen, unless there's good drainage at the bottom, say you've got it on gravel, that would be fine, but any other substrate, you're going to have close contact with the base of the pot, and the water, when it comes in through the rain or through when you water the roses, is going to sit in this area, and sitting water is going to go stagnant. The roots are not going to like that, so it's really, really important that you do raise the pots. It only has to be a slight amount, just to allow that water to drip out, come away and evaporate. It might mean that you need to water your roses a bit more often, because the substrate, that's the soil, will dry out quicker. But super important, you don't want stagnant water sitting in there. If this was in the ground and we watered it, or the rain came down, yes, it might sit for a while, but eventually it would drain away. And it's that movement of new water coming through the substrate that just basically cleanses it, gets rid of any stale, stagnant water, and just keeps the roots nice and healthy. I've found in the past with some of my roses, I had one of them, I think it was a shop bought one. I want to say it might have even been the new Emma Bridgewater rose. And the pot that I'd bought, unlike all the other pots, it didn't have any bloody holes in the bottom. So I think it was a manufacturing error. So of course that rose just started to look quite sickly, and the soil wasn't drying out as much, and I was wondering what is going on. So I lifted the pot up. It's quite a big one, so it's quite difficult to do, and I noticed there were no holes in it. As soon as I drilled the holes, the water came out, and within, I'd say 3 weeks, the rose was coming back to good health. So it just emphasised the importance of good drainage, so I thought it's worth mentioning to you guys. Something I've used before on my fancy pots like this one, I got everybody to save me milk carton tops. They're about this deep, so wide. Ended up with bags and bags of them, because I used to have a potted garden, and I just put 3 of them under each pot, and they acted like little feet. And the good thing about those is they were under the pot, so you couldn't actually see them. It looked like the pot was slightly elevating on its own, like sort of levitating. So if you don't want to see, you can get fancy feet for pots that are made out of metal, clay, plastic, whatever you prefer. But if you just want something cheap, the milk bottle tops are a great idea. So you can ask all your friends and family to save them for you. These are just plastic pots that I've used temporarily because they're a lot bigger and they weren't too expensive for some of my purchased roses. Just so they've got a little bit of substrate to grow out into. They wouldn't be any good in these pots. They wouldn't even fit with the roots that they came with. So anyway, I'm just going to move on. Beautiful foliage, look at that. I cannot wait until this is a wall of Crown Princess Margarita and Teasing Georgia in the background, because I think to do a review in that video will be lovely. The smell alone in this section is going to be phenomenal. I'm just making sure I'm not missing anything. Yeah, can you see that leaf there? That's probably a bit of frost and sun damage. But we've got beautiful leaves down there. So gorgeous. I remember this one in this blue pot. It was quite a little spindly cutting, but nonetheless it had rooted. It only had tiny roots, but I thought I'd give it a go and pot it up, and it's now putting on some nice growth. So never give up. If it's got roots, give it a chance. I think this one is Crown Princess. I'm just looking at the leaf colours and just checking. Yeah, CPM. I've labelled Crown Princess Margarita. So that's another one. That one's definitely not CPM, I don't think. We're slightly changing colour. You look at those. Very different leaves. Much more burgundy. And I think that's probably Jeff Hamilton. Again, another retired variety which I have on the property. I've recently dug him up actually and put him in one of those yellow pots. I think this is Jeff Hamilton. Yeah, look at that, you can see Jeff Hamilton, and that was taken on the 20th of June 23. So that hasn't faded because it's been under the soil level, and I've put more soil on there. All of these little seedlings that are in here, they're not roses, they're probably just weeds that have blown in on the wind. When they get a bit bigger, I'll just nip them out, tidy the pots up. I've often debated whether just to leave them in because they do shade the soil and that helps it to stop drying out, but then they're also using water and nutrients and stealing from the rose. So I'm in two minds. What I don't want to do is let it get so crowded in there that the roses are suffering. But I think there's something to be said about weeds and plants growing together. You know, they've done this for all of time, since they arrived, and you know, the soil network is quite a complex ecosystem, and all of those roots and those plants, they could be sharing things with one another that we're not aware of, and so removing them and kind of leaving the roses out on their own, we might lose some of those symbiotic relationships. So that's why I companion plant in my beds, because I just think the more diversity that's there, the better it is for the insects first of all, but perhaps they are working together in ways that we're not aware of, or that I'm not aware of anyway. I know the soil ecosystem is a very complex structure, fabulous actually, and the soil health really is what determines the plant health. So if you look after your soil, if you mulch, if you feed, a lot of people these days are doing no dig so that they're not disturbing that structure of the soil, then I think your plants will thrive. So that's the first Jeff Hamilton there. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think there's 8 Jeff Hamiltons, which is fantastic really. And we look here, look at all the canes that have come out on this. That's the original cutting for Jeff Hamilton. 1, 2, 3, nice fat canes as well. This is a beautiful rose. It's one of the parents of the Parfumer Earth Angel, which I've got in a pot in just over there. Some more temporary pots. And yeah, it's gorgeous. It's a bit similar to Olivia Austin, but more densely packed and more cupped and balled. And it has a nice fragrance. Just a beautiful rose overall. And again, anything that's got burgundy foliage, I love. Just think it adds a different look. Quite a few spindly stems there, 1, 2, 3 of them you can see at the bottom. And normally I'd cut those out, but again, because it's such a young rose, I don't want to take too much off of there. These will get a proper prune maybe next year or the year after, depending how well they do when I put them in the ground. And I'll aim for a nice open structure. This is a shrub rose, so these will be going in front of the Crown Princess and Teasing Georgia, for example, to sort of mound out and fill out, and they'll look incredible. So exciting. Oh, there's another rose there which I can't wait to tell you about. Just have a look at this Jeff Hamilton. It's mental to think that these are my cuttings. I'm really pleased with how they've turned out. That's the original cut, top of the cutting, and of course it's grown all of that up since. And then we've got a basil cane over there from last year. Similar with that one. Beautiful. And they flowered last year. They didn't flower a lot, I'm going to be honest. But per rose there were at least 4 or 5 blooms. So I think this year they'll do much better. And I'm already seeing there's more stems for a start, because they threw up a load last year. You can see all these buds just absolutely covered. This one, for example, has got 1, 2, 3, 4 stems. And this one's got 1, 2, 3, 4 if you include those. I have a bit of a soft spot for this rose, I really do like it. And the guy, oh well, the couple that we bought the house off, he was called Jeff. So it always reminds me of the people we bought the house off. First of all, they chose the rose, probably because it's called Jeff Hamilton. And also just because it's so beautiful. So I think that's the last Jeff Hamilton, and then we're back onto Teasing Georgia, which we started with right at the end, and I've got quite a lot of these. They rooted really well for me. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There's about 15 or 16 of them, so plenty enough to go on this fence all the way up and just give me lots of coverage. If you look down here, nice big stem in the middle. This one here hiding behind the, look how fat that is. That's fatter than a pencil. It just goes up, 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 all the way to the top where I made my cut in spring. You can see there. And we've just got the buds waking up all the way down. It's gonna be insane. Covered. And these are beautiful yellow, soft yellow flowers, cupped as well. Beautiful scent. She's a little bit spiky. Like most of the roses, they tend to be spiky lower down, and then as you get up, you know, the stems smooth out a little bit. Look at this pot. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stems in that tiny little David Austin sized pot. 5 stems, and they're all doing amazing. I had some slightly larger pots as well there, so I used those on these ones. Absolutely gorgeous. Look how healthy all that foliage is. She has a bit of a matte finish, does Teasing Georgia. They're not as shiny, they're quite delicate, her leaves. They do become darker as they age, and obviously bigger. A lot of people say that she's prone to black spot, but I just find if you clean out the pots, get rid of all the rose leaves, defoliate your roses, you're always going to get some black spot. But I think hygiene and cleanliness is key, because it breaks the cycle of the black spot disease, which is a fungus that releases spores which overwinter in the dead leaves or on the plant, and come the right conditions, as I said earlier, with the wet and the heat, they germinate to the spores, and then you get a black spot breakout. And even then, if you just remove the leaves, you can help limit the spread of it to the rest of the rose and other roses. It's carried on the wind, and carried on rain droplets that splash. And obviously I said I'm using sulphur rose this year, so hopefully with that being toxic to black spot, it'll keep it at bay also. I'm doing everything that I can and feeding the roses, you know, give them the food that they need, then they can grow healthy and they can have the resistance that they need to fend off disease. Bit of frost damage there on these ones, but God, this one's going nuts. Look how big that is. We literally, at the end of March, that's just one rose in that pot. I only put one cutting per pot. This has turned out great because this fruit cage, if you look at my old video, were full of old beds that I had to whack out with a sledgehammer, and it was just full of weeds. So I just wanted a clear space. Obviously this is where the greenhouse is going to be, so all of this will be moved and gone. But I need somewhere to put these cuttings for now. So this has worked out quite well for me. I'll just bring you down here. We'll have a look at the base of this teasing Georgia. I'd say that's 3 canes, but 4 or 5 if you include all that's separating off. I think I want to give these a sequestered seaweed and iron feed. I think it'll help green them up even further. So I'm going to be going to get that today. I might do it today, or I might wait until the weekend. I always try and water them first thing in the morning, because if I accidentally wet the foliage, which does happen, it just gives the rest of the day for the water to dry out. And they're not sat there then wet, again encouraging black spot. So yeah, I would encourage you, if you can, to water in the morning. And also it prepares the rose then, doesn't it? If we've got a hot day, it's got everything it needs right at the start. Look at this one splitting as it comes up. It's all the way up there, and we've got that cane that goes across the back and up. Canes there, massive cane going up there. It just looks wonderful. Don't you think the birds sound beautiful in the background? You can get lost sometimes in the garden. It's gorgeous sounds. Lovely healthy growth there on this teasing Georgia. I reckon probably in the next 4 weeks, I'd say, you'll start to see the tiny collection of buds at the end of each of these. And this one's a cluster. She doesn't tend to throw up single stems. She tends to have, you know, 5, 6, 7 blooms or more per stem. So these are my teasing Georgia. This one's gone nuts. It's up here. I think I'm probably going to have to use these staging supports to tie, excuse me, to tie the rose in. But that don't matter. Eventually I'm going to have to move these out of here, which I'm not looking forward to. But by then they should have gone through their first flush, second flush. I think it'll be coming towards the end of the season when we get the greenhouse in here. So I'm not too worried or stressed out about moving them, because at that point I won't really care. They'll just be going in wherever they're going, and they'll be getting a prune probably later on in the year, early spring next year. So it might look a bit messy to start off with, but I think they'll recover and they'll do well for it. So that was teasing Georgia and Jeff Hamilton. These are my rambling roses. We might as well have a quick look at these. And the original bush is, if I can just show you, that bush at the back, a big round mound, that's rambling Rosie. That's the only one I've got in the property. It is coming out of there, but I'm going to put it somewhere else. I imagined having these in big massive pots around the property, up by the house, for example, in the courtyard, which is between another part of the house. perhaps maybe some in the rose room, some in here, just as a sort of red continuous thread throughout the garden. And they grow really well up obelisks. They just fill out and they just flower and flower and flower. Gorgeous red, no fragrance sadly, but it is a beautiful rose, quite disease resistant. And you can see, I think I put 2 per pot in these because I was running out of pots. That one's not done a great deal, but it's alive, it had roots. And I don't think these were done in June 23 from memory. I'll just have a little look. I know I tell a lie, they were done in June. But they have put on a lot of growth. Maybe not that one, but if you look, we've got new basil canes here coming up. This one, for example, quite a bit going on there. I think this one died. That's all just from one, is that. So they didn't all take. I think I got 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 out of 10. That's not bad, is it? But these are just starting to leaf out now. They're a bit slower than some of the other roses, but beautiful. And they'll flower this year. They'll be covered. And I'm going to put them in really big pots, so they'll go nuts. Quite a nice shiny foliage. I've actually got quite nice stems as well, almost like a purple colour to the stems. So that's Rambling Rosie. Where shall we go next? Shall we start over here? I did one of my, oh God, the name's not coming to me. It is, I don't know why, but I've got Buff Beauty in my head and it's definitely not that. It's a Rambling Rose. And I have it at the back, and it's an old rose. It's not a David Austin one, but they do stock it. Blush Noisette, that's what it is. Which is not doing too bad. It came out quite early, so I think there's quite a bit of frost damage on it. But we're getting new foliage now, which is coming out in the warmer weather, so hopefully it should be fine. Again, not the best pot for this because it is quite a vigorous rose. So yeah, I might even up pot some of these this year. I don't know, in terms of putting them in slightly bigger pots. It means I won't have to water them as much. I've got plenty of those, for example, that the Rambling Roses are in. But then I thought to myself, it's not a massive change in size of pot. Is there any point? And I am going to try and get them in the ground this year, so it's a lot of extra work. For a very short period of time, so I don't know, I'll see. If the roses look like they're starting to struggle, then definitely I will. This one I believe is Heritage. Again, I have this one in the property. When we moved here, this is a stunning rose, right up there with some of my favourites. Amazing fragrance, and just the bloom itself and the way it catches the light blows me away. Never get bored of this rose. We've got a big cane coming up there, sending out loads of growth. See, the birds have been in there, that's blackbirds. But yeah, that's Heritage. And if you look at my the video I did this weekend in the rose room, I took 6 of these. Did I do 6? Yeah, I took 6 and put them around my rose cage in the middle of the rose room, and they're doing quite well. They're not as big as these because before I put the protection around them, the rabbits did munch some of these stems down in the rose room, not in here. So these ones consequently are a little bit further on, but it doesn't matter because they're doing all right. And if you look, loads of new buds coming out of the base as well, further down the stem. And this is a massive shrub when it gets going. It is a shrub rose, Heritage, but it can grow easily to about 5.5, 6 foot. And in terms of width, maybe 4 or 5 foot, covered in blooms. Fragrance, as I said, is beautiful. Lovely stems on this one. Nothing really special about the foliage, maybe just the outer edges having that lovely sort of burgundy red. It's the blooms that do it for me on this rose and the growth habit. Absolutely gorgeous. So that's that. That's another heritage. I think that's a heritage. This one is, and I even want to say these two are as well. I'll double check. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 6. That would be 13 altogether if that is the case. Yeah, that's definitely heritage. So they're all heritage. And look what I've just spotted. Look at that, another basil cane. Actually, there's 2 coming out there. That's nice because there's nothing over on that side. And in the neighbouring pot, another basil break on that. And another one coming out a little bit further over. They're loving it. Absolutely loving it. How cool is that? Now this next rose, again, look, you can tell. Look at the foliage difference. You see the colour? This one has got more sort of pinky orange tones in the foliage. It's beautiful foliage, look at that. Gorgeous. And then it goes into this lovely green colour. I've just seen my first green flies. Look at those little buggers in there. You know, when you spray sulphur rose, it kills green flies. So not only does it protect against black spot, but it's, even on the packet it says it can be irritating to your skin, so don't get it on your hands. But it kills green flies. I think it's toxic to them, although it's safe for other insects. This rose, I haven't told you what it is. It's Brother Cadfael, which is a peony style rose. David Austin, retired variety. I think it was released in the late 90s, and this is stunning. I wouldn't advise putting Brother Cadfael in full sun though. I might actually have to move these because the sun can bake the petals. It's very heavily cupped, lots of petals. But I found in the past, where it used to be, the most sun exposed parts used to go just ever so slightly shriveled in the sun. So I've got a place in the rose room and in this part of the garden where I want to put this, where it'll get plenty of overhead light and it will get some sun, but I'm not going to put it in the heat of the day. But we are on to blooms yet with this, so we're all right for now. And I think I took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I want to say, of those, possibly more. Definitely 5 there that I can see. It's just whether or not this one at the side of it is, and just show you those stems at the base. Looking gorgeous. And Brother Cadfael stems go quite dark actually. This really is a beautiful rose. And the blooms are ginormous. Rival that of Princess Alexandra of Kent. Different roses in terms of their shapes, scents, etc. And this has a wonderful scent as well. But really, really big, blousy blooms. I love them. I wonder who this one is. I want to say it might not be Brother Cadfael. No, this one isn't Brother Cadfael, although it looks quite similar. It's not a David Austin rose either. This is another one that we have on the property, which I've since dug up and repotted, ready to move. But this is Rosa Louise Audier, and it's fabulous, this rose. It was one of the first ones, along with Gertrude Jekyll, to flower in the garden when we first moved here. And they're very similar in colour, although Louise Audier is heavily cupped, heavily petalled. And the sort of thing I love the most about this rose, fragrance is very similar to Gertrude, that old rose fragrance. One of the good things about her, again, look, greenfly. The only one on there. Just flick them off if you see them. Yeah, one of the good things about her that I absolutely love is, as her blooms age, they fade to this pink that looks antique. She keeps the shape, she keeps the fragrance, but they go from a relatively vibrant pink, not as vibrant as Gertrude, she's actually softer to start off with, but as she fades she goes to almost like an earth angel, very subtle pink, and I just think she looks like an antique rose. And that just did it for me. I was like, okay, love this rose. She looks like an English rose from David Austin, so she's welcome in my garden. And I think I took 3 of these. So there's one there, and one next door. I think that's Louise Audier. Let me just double check. I need to do these again anyway soon. Yeah, Rosa Louise Audier. Taken, oh, these were taken a bit earlier, 31st of May 23. Probably because that's when I first seen them in bloom, and I just thought, okay, now's the time to see if I can get these to root, and clearly she has. We've got new growth coming out of that one. Lovely strong canes, and she grows quite big. She'll go easily to 6 foot. I think the one in the garden was pushing a little bit taller than that because it had not been pruned for a while. Look at that one behind. I think that's a Bathsheba that I did, and we've got a basil break on that as well from the bottom, which is good to see. I'll come around there in a second. And then I believe these ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are Claire Austins. As you know, I've got Claire in my rose room. She's beautiful, and I do want to introduce her into this area and that area of the garden, so I did some cuttings of her. I'm not selling them, they're for me, so if you're from the patent, please back off. No, on a serious note though, plant breeders' rights, you shouldn't be selling plants that are still on patent, because you know you're breaking the law technically. But these are my roses, they're on my property, they're staying on my property, and yeah, I should be fine. But this is Claire. Oh God, I'm seeing quite a few green fly today. These are definitely going to be getting sprayed with sulphur rose at the start of April. I try to stick to the 1st of each month, just to make it easy to remember. And in the summer I might do them possibly twice a month. That's what the product literature says anyway. So this is Claire, and she's sending, I mean look, she's a climber, short climber. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 stems on her. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coming up with that one on this one. She's doing brilliant. And I recycle my old David Austin pots. But again, these are at the stage that you'd probably buy them at the garden centre. And that's 2 years since taking a cutting. So if you look carefully, you can see we've got lots of growth coming out. And that's why I did these willow wigwams, just so I've got something to tie them in, otherwise they'd just literally flop everywhere. These are all raised on those bamboo canes. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 good stems on that one, 1, 2, 3, 4 on that. I mean, look at the thickness of these. Pencil thickness. Gorgeous, healthy foliage, look at that. Wowzer. Beautiful. She'll be loaded in blooms. She flowered last year and looked as good as the ones in my rose room, I gotta be honest. So she'll be covered, all of this. She's got a lovely myrrh fragrance. Will be, can you imagine what that's going to look like? We're going to have Heritage, we'll have Brother Cadfael if we manage to tolerate the sun here. We'll have Claire here. We've got Golden Celebration. This rose is amazing. Ours is planted in shade and it did really well, but I'm hoping it's going to do better in sun, and I want to try and introduce this one as well into the rose room. But I've got 2 of these side by side. This one has an amazing fragrance. I remember the first time I ever smelled this one, I was blown away. The blooms are huge, quite heavy, so they'll nod, so definitely needs support. But yeah, just wonderful. And it's nice to know now I've got these 2 and I've got the original one, so I've got 3. Plant them somewhere where you're going to appreciate the smell, where you can sit next to them and have them scram. It'll climb, this one, definitely. Advertised as a shrub rose, but I would say short climber myself. You could easily get it up to 6 foot, no problem, probably more. So yeah, that's Golden Celebration, 2 there. And then, as I said, we've got Bathshebas, and this one needs no introduction. I've got 4 of them in my rose room, which are about 6-year-old. This is where these cuttings came from. This could have been one of the David Austin wedding roses, in my opinion, because it's that good. Smells amazing. The colours, excuse me, are fantastic. Real nice, healthy. Starting to seriously leaf out. I nearly did this little tour in this fruit cage a few weeks ago, but I'm glad I've waited until today, my day off, just because they've leafed out so much in just the last couple of weeks. So I feel like I'm showing you more. This one's another Bathsheba. Gotta be careful that I don't run into spider webs in this fruit cage, because there is quite a few. But that's good because they eat green fly. Let's see if I can show you down here. We've got, focus that. That's the original cutting, is just through there. Can you see the top? That little bit just there. And then from that we got new basil canes last year. And these are the main canes that grew out. And this will be loaded this year. Absolutely covered. Got another one here. I think that's Bathsheba as well. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, possibly 7 Bathshebas. The first 2 were accidental. So in the spring, I think on my Bathshebas, 2 stems like this that had come out quite far had just broken off in the wind. So I just stuck them, and then they both rooted, so I got my first 2. And then I just did the others with some material that I took off of the roses at that time. Yeah, this is Bathsheba, taken 20 for the 6, 23. So those are the Bathshebas. I just put that back in properly. Again, I think wrapping these pots in foil might just help keep them cool, which will also hopefully help with the water requirements, because if it's not warming up in the heat, it's not gonna evaporate as much from the soil. These ones here are slightly different. As you can see, that was Bathsheba up there. I've got 2 of these roses here, again taken from cuttings from a rose just over there in the garden behind that fence. This is Winchester Cathedral, another one of David Austin's. It's a white spot of Mary Rose. And this is such a unique rose. So you get the white blooms, but you get the little pink spots, which are a telltale sign of the original rose that this is a spot of, because she's pink. So exactly the same as Mary Rose, just white with the occasional pink flecks. I've seen some people where they've got a half pink bloom, half white bloom, which looks awesome. So yeah, I managed to get 2 of these to root, and they're doing really well. So I'll be able to put that one in the garden as well, in a different area. This one here is a rose that we've got growing just in front of the lounge, which is below that part of the house, near the patio doors. There isn't actually a label on that one, and I did do a Facebook post not that long ago, or I say not that long ago now, it's going to be several years ago, just asking people who it might be. I think it's the Macmillan Nurse Rose. I shall put some pictures on with this video and see what you think. Leave a comment in the section below just to let me know if you think you know what it is. It's not the same as any of the roses that I've got in my rose room, so if you look at my videos you'll know I've got everything there. I don't have this rose anywhere else in the garden, so everything that we've gone through so far, it isn't any of those either. But she's beautiful, and she's got a beautiful lemon fragrance. Gorgeous rose, so I'm really pleased that I've managed to get another one to grow from the cutting. And I think I only took maybe 2 cuttings of this. One of them didn't take, one of them did, so I'm quite pleased with that. And then this next one is unmistakable. This was a happy accident. Again, a stem fell off of one of my Gertrudes, and so I took cuttings. Look how gorgeous that foliage is. She has this almost beautiful sheen to her foliage when they first come out. I love Gertrude fragrance. Oh my god, it's like the quintessential English rose smell. David Austin still sell her, and I'm not surprised. She's pretty good on the disease resistance front, and yeah, blooms her heart out. So I've got an extra Gertrude here. I've got quite a few on the property, so this is just a little Brucey bonus. Don't know if that's quite focusing. Come up a little bit. There we go. She's growing tall already. She's got quite a few canes at the bottom. We've got one there, that one and that one. So yeah, she's doing pretty well. And she's the last one that I've done in terms of cuttings. So I don't know how many roses we've just gone through, but I'll step back and just show you again. All of those down that section, if you remember, were Jeff Hamilton, Crown Princess, Teasing Georgia, Rambling Rosie, Blush Noisette, Heritage. Then we had, my memory's just not working today, Brother Cadfael. And then I think we had Louise Odier, then we had Claire Austin, Golden Celebrations, Bathsheba, Winchester Cathedral, and finally Gertrude. Not a bad little collection, in my opinion. Stunning roses, the majority of which are retired, so it makes them even more precious. I'm going to end the video at this point, but I will do a separate video today, just taking you through all these other pots, just showing you what's in these. So I think this video will be too long otherwise, and it just makes it easier when I come to edit. So if you're interested, you can watch that one. I'll also do a separate video just showing you the roses that they've got in the pots around here and at the side of the chickens. For now, these are the old roses, David Austin's, that I've removed from way over the other side of the garden. And I just want to show people that actually you can dig old roses up, and I want to show you what they do. So stay tuned for that video. I hope you've enjoyed this one. I will do update videos again around about May, June in here when they're all in bloom, so stay tuned for that. Remember, subscribe to the channel and then you'll get a notification when I post new content, and you won't miss the exciting videos that I'm going to put up. I honestly think this is just going to look incredible. It's going to give me a glimpse of what the fence is going to look like, because it's going to be composed of a lot of these roses. And I just think all of these in this small space, you just think how many blooms are going to be in front of us. It's going to be mind-blowing, spectacular. Thanks again for watching. Remember, thumbs up for the video. It does help it go out on YouTube and more people to see it, which helps the channel. And again, subscribe for more content. You guys take care. Thanks again for watching. Bye bye.